Hello!
Hello!
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Adam.
Welcome to I Love You But, where we talk about common relationship issues.
And our advice on how to deal
while we drink wine.
while we drink wine.
Tonight we are talking about... oh shit. Tonight we are continuing the conversation of the 5 love languages.
With number 4.
Acts of service.
This is a hard one for me.
And you're like, what the fuck are acts of service?
Doing things for your person.
You express love by doing things for your partner.
They come out and they go, oh my gosh, you made me lunch, or oh, you packed my bag for the vacation, or
You made the bed?
You made the
3
bed?
days in a row?
you did the dishes without me asking. These are all little things that your partner can receive love as, if their love language is acts of service.
My secondary love language is
Acts of service.
acts of service.
Mm.
Which is really funny because it's Adam's number 5.
It's my last one. When people do things for me, I go, stop doing things for me. When I do things for other people, I'm like, that was a chore. You get nothing from me.
It's also a big way that I give love.
It's the only way you give love.
Yeah.
You're just like, let me do everything for you. And I'm like, stop it.
Okay, dramatic. Acts of service are things that require thought and energy and time and effort. So if I'm walking around and I'm like, oh God, like I really need my laundry to be done. Like I don't know when I'm gonna have time to do it. And then I come home and the laundry's done. I'm like, oh my God, like
Acts of service.
you were listening to me.
Acts of service.
And you did something that I needed to be done.
Acts of service.
And you did it for me because you knew that I needed it to be done.
Yep.
Oh,
Totally.
it's so nice.
I think the most important part of what you're getting at right now is that this service, it has to be done with a positive spirit. Because as soon as it's done with the negative spirit, you're just dripping with like the sarcasm and blame and
Resentment.
like resentment. You're making me do this. You're a taskmaster. You're a taskmaster cracking the whip over my bloodied back. Oh.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Well, I think that somebody wouldn't have a positive attitude doing something if they thought that their partner was demanding something.
That would make the whole thing 10 times worse.
Mm-hmm.
In my humble opinion, that's how things just spiral out of control, is that starts happening and then it keeps happening for months and then years.
But if you say, hey, I really appreciated when you took out the trash last week when I didn't ask you to do it. That was super nice. And I'd really like for you to do it again. That's a nice request, and that's kind of like positive reinforcement.
I would also just put that in the category of not being an asshole. Just not being one. There you go.
That's a really great slogan for any relationship. Don't be an asshole.
Stop being an asshole if you think you are. If you're even asking, you're probably an asshole.
I mean, nobody likes being forced to do anything.
No.
So if you're asking someone, know that a request is kind of like giving direction on how to love you instead of forcing someone to do something so that they will love you.
It's guidance.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, making passive-aggressive demands doesn't really help anyone. But if you go to your partner and you sincerely and honestly say, hi, I would like your help with this, or hey, will you please think about doing this? That is such a better way to approach acts of service. But I would also say if your partner's primary or secondary love language is acts of service, every time you do something, you don't have to go, hey, I did something.
Hey.
Hey, I did something.
Look at me.
Hey, I did something.
I'm so special.
Because if one of their love languages is acts of service, they're going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
So just let them notice.
Every time.
It's okay. Because when you rub it in their face, it's like, oh, praise me, praise me, praise me.
It's kind of like opposite nagging. Like it's seen as a nag.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're seen as a nag to constantly go, do it. And then you're
Praise me, praise me.
Exactly. It's the opposite.
And then it's not about your partner.
It's about you being all high and mighty. Ugh. God, it's just gross. It's gross. It's all gross.
So if this is your partner's love language, like understand that you don't have to do things for them, but for them to effectively feel love from you, it is better to do these things.
It's just better.
Does that make sense? Did that make sense?
Yeah. Do them is the point.
If your primary love language is acts of service, don't expect your partner to do those things. Or you should have a talk with them about how you receive love and tell them your expectations. So either don't have any expectations, or if you do have expectations, let them be known. This is how I like to be loved. I think that's a better conversation to have
That's a great
than
conversation.
having no expectations.
Totally.
So when you talk to your partner about your love language, whether it's acts of service or not, manipulation is not love, and coercion by fear is not love. So if you're saying to your partner, oh, you better do this or I won't love you, that's not really love, and you guys might have a problem.
Yeah. And it's not even like just ultimatum based. You know, you've kind of mentioned that nagging thing that people can start to do.
I'm
And
going to say nagging in quotation marks because when people nag, they're not nagging, they're trying to tell you something. So if I'm nagging, maybe you can look through the nag and see what my request is.
that requires a lot of emotional control and intelligence.
Totally.
It's probably the hardest thing to do out of all of the things you can do regarding love languages is look through nagging and understand that there's a request in there, but ooh, man, that's tough.
It is tough. But I would also say it's not just that way. It's also vice versa. If you are nagging, try to see what your request actually is and maybe try to turn the nag or demand into a request. So it's on both people. People tend to criticize the most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need that they need to have met. You're actually saying, please help me in this area. Not always, because you don't want to be manipulated. You don't want to be stomped over.
It's such a fine line between knowing the cry for help versus being a doormat and like giving up your confidence in the relationship. It's a really fascinating one to me. This love language really perplexes me from time to time. There's a lot to it. Something that's important to just keep in mind, the longer a relationship goes on, honestly, the more you fall away from trying to impress your partner, that's a natural progression to things. Hey, I give the best gifts.
No, I'm just saying you're right.
Oh.
Yes. I agree.
This is me yassing you. Which means that you start off doing things for your partner, acts of service, and then as time goes on, you're like, man, we live together, like, man.
The laundry will get done, the dishes will get done.
Doesn't matter. And that's them actually feeling you stopping, like, the giving of love to them.
Because
it's
that
brutal.
might be the thing that they fell in love with, was you helping them with things.
Totally.
You caring and you putting in your time.
And after a few years, you're no longer caring or helpful at all.
Sometimes that does happen though, especially sometimes people get married and then they fall into those stereotypes of husband and wife, or the husband doesn't do anything and the wife does all the housework. It really makes you challenge stereotypes and gender roles because that's not really how life is anymore. And if that's what you want to do, like, awesome. If that's how you want your relationship to work and that's how you give and receive love and it works out for you and it just happens to fit the gender and stereotypes, like,
that's fine.
Great, cool. If it works for you, awesome. But if it doesn't, you need to talk to your partner, or you redefine your own roles in your own relationship, because it's your relationship. It's not anyone else's. It's not your parents. It's not your neighbors. It's not your friends. It is your relationship. So if your partner's primary or secondary love language is acts of service and you just have no idea where to start, then here's a place. You start with the things that they are nagging you about or they keep asking you about. Write them down and then do them sporadically without your partner asking. It's amazing. And if your partner needs help and they're trying to figure out what to do for you, if your love language is acts of service, help them. Tell them, hey, these are 3 or 4 things that you could do this week that would really help me out and that would really make me feel loved. I wouldn't suggest overwhelming your partner.
That's a quick way to just shutting the whole thing down. One item is gonna be enough right at the beginning. If you just give them a list, they're gonna look at you and go, you're being an asshole. Don't be an asshole.
Yep. This has been I Love You, but we need to talk about Acts of Service, which is part of the 5 love languages by
4.
Gary Chapman. Number 4. So stay tuned next week. We're going to talk about number 5, which is the last one. Check in next week. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. Concerns.
Quandaries. Queries. Corrections. Let us know about all these things. We'd love to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe.
Share with your friends. Let us know if you have any questions about acts of service or the 5 love languages. And we will get to number 5 next week.
Ba-boom, pew,
Boo,
pew,
boo,
pew,
boo.
pew, pew, woo. And have a beautiful rest of your evening.